Well, today's topic is how to be successful with the opposite sex. So, if you're male or female and you're not having such good luck in meeting the boy or girl of your dreams, listen up because this is me telling you how to do it. And I'm 85 years old and I've had probably more than my share of successes and failures. Now, today, the internet and computer dating is probably one of the best ways to uh, meet people and find someone you're compatible with. But the biggest secret that people don't seem to know is that what you want isn't so important. So if you make a list of everything you want in your future long-term or short-term partner, that isn't how you're going to get the long-term partner or short-term. But what you want to do is to ask yourself, what is it that the person I want wants? In other words, you have to portray yourself in your internet profile as the type of desirable person that the girl you or boy you want would like. Now, when I started, I was looking at Asian girls, and the thing that kept reappearing is God fearing. I wasn't sure what God fearing meant, but maybe 9 out of 10 Asian women seemed to want a partner or a boy who was God fearing. Well, if I wanted to succeed, the first thing I would have to put in my description of myself is God fearing. And then you can give your physical specifications, and a lot of women want somebody who's educated. Very few want somebody who is a manual laborer. But whatever you are, you have to do the best with what you have. So when you're constructing your profile, another thing to keep in mind is trial and error. If something doesn't work or is a turnoff or doesn't attract anybody, well, then you want to change it. And same as in selling your product in retail. If nobody is buying, you have to adjust your product. Now, before there was an internet, I had a foolproof way of meeting interesting women, and the women who I met had a foolproof way of meeting men. And guess what that is? Religious services, whether it's a church or a synagogue or a temple. That is one place everybody approves of. And for me, in the old days, the other alternative was going to a bar. And when you go to a bar, well, you get smokers, drinkers, and loud music. And that isn't the best place to meet someone you'd like to spend more than a one night stand with. So, in my case, I would meet someone. Oh, by the way, at church there's almost always a social hour afterwards. So they have a few cookies and coffee or whatever it is, maybe lunch, and that is where you sit down next to somebody that looks a little bit attractive and that's single. And a lot of these religious institutions even cater to the singles crowd. For instance, they'll call it a place to meet for singles to meet, and nobody can object to that. Boy, I see an upside down chair in a tree. Now that's an interesting question. Okay, that reminds me, just to digress completely from my main topic, there was a story years ago that they found a scuba diver in full regalia inside a tree near here. And people wondered how the heck that could ever happen. How would a scuba diver in a wetsuit ever end up in a tree? Well, it turned out after investigation that there had been a forest fire, and these airplanes, I think they're called Canadair, would scoop up water from the lake and dump it on the fire. And so this poor scuba diver got scooped up and dumped on the fire and ended up in a tree. Well, that's our little unrelated tale. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is thinking that they are too unattractive to get a suitable partner. And one of the ugliest guys I ever knew, he was a personal friend, always had good-looking women. Now, of course, he had other assets. He was rich, and that always helps. But the fact is, I've known some physically not attractive women who, because they had very nice personalities, were quite attractive to men. I use it where we talk about movie stars. Barbara Streisand isn't exactly the greatest beauty, but she had a great aggressive personality and was a movie star and had no trouble getting boyfriends, I'm sure. So even if you're not too great looking, you have to, well, there's an old saying, if you're pretty ugly and a guy, learn how to play the guitar. And if you're pretty ugly and a girl, learn how to cook. I don't know how good that is, but the truth is, I knew a fella who had a dating service, and he said the less attractive physically girls were more popular than the beauties, because the typical guy felt intimidated by a woman who had a theoretical score of 9.5, while a 5 or a 6 he would regard as more available. And the same thing is true for women who are seeking men. You know, the man who is super attractive and has movie star looks probably has a lot of girls after him. And so a girl who's looking for a reliable partner doesn't want to be worried that she doesn't stand up well against the competition. So don't worry if you're not good looking. That is not a barrier to finding your ideal partner. One friend of mine was very shy. I wouldn't say he was bad looking, but one of his cohorts, who was very successful with women, said, "Hey, Nicky, you will marry the first girl that smiles at you." Well, that turned out to happen. The fellow in question was very shy, and he was at a store, and the girl behind the counter seemed to find him attractive. She smiled at him. The next thing that happened is they were lovers, and a few weeks later they're married. Now, these days, you don't have to be married anymore. A lot of people just live together and even have kids together. So marriage is not the end goal that it used to be. But I think there's somebody for everybody. Now, some countries like China, where there was a one-child policy, have a lot more men than women. And so, obviously, if you're a Chinese guy, you're better off going to another country where the imbalance is the other way. So in places like India, there seem to be a lot more women than men. And in the Philippines, wow, the women there are very nice and agreeable. And because the typical Filipino goes off to another country to work or is a sailor, I'd say there's about 2 or 3 women for every man, and they're all looking for foreigners. And it doesn't matter what race you are in the Philippines, if you're Asian or black or white, whatever you are, you'll find plenty of women to date, and the websites there are really good. But you do have to watch out for the swindlers, because you may find somebody with a great picture, but it's a fat somebody with a big cigar, not even the same sex as the picture, and they just want to get money out of people. Well, I hope this short session has been of use. If you make some comments and ask questions, I'll have a follow-up, but that's it for now.